Hi, welcome to another episode of Hot Takes. Now, regular viewers will know that we've done an awful lot about the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital in Glasgow, part of the Greater Glasgow and Clyde NHS, which is a truly, truly awful NHS. There are so many things going wrong. We've got so many stories that it just goes back years. But we've got the latest, I don't even know how to describe it, appalling series of images that show exactly how bad some of the problems are. And I'm going to warn you now, you are not going to believe some of the things that you're going to see. And I'm going to throw the images up, you'll see them. But, you know, if you're the sort of person that doesn't like, for example, huge piles of pigeon guano, then perhaps this isn't for you. But let me tell you, pigeon guano isn't even the worst of it. Wait till you see what you're going to see. So we'll just, we'll just go. What I'm just going to do is I'm just going to go through, show you some images, tell you what's going on, and give you a very brief history. So enjoy the ride. Anyway, here is the hospital. This, of course, is the actual Greater Glasgow and Clyde. Now, we've got all these new documents that have been released, and they show that patients contracted things like psittacosis, and this comes from basically pigeon shit, bird shit. And pest control teams have been called literally hundreds upon hundreds of times ever since the inception, and indeed from before the hospital was completed. And we've actually had engineers on the show, on the channel, who dealt with the installation where they said they were putting the wrong kind of air conditioning in, and that there was problems from day one. There was fungal infections from day one, and they were still building, and they identified the fungal infections, told management, and management did nothing about it. But so we've got these images, and like I say, we're going to go through this entire hospital is just absolute awful. But pest control experts have been called out, like I say, 623 times between 2015 and 2021. Patients contracted infections from bird droppings, although health chiefs, they dismissed these cases and claimed they weren't linked to hospital's pigeon problem. Wait till you see the images, you'll see that that's a load of old rubbish. The water tanks are so bad. Well, I'll tell you what. Wait till you see what was in the water tank. There's an image coming up shortly, and you will not believe what is in the water tank. And I really mean this. You will not believe what is in the water tanks in this hospital. And when it was being built, they actually were so concerned with the virtue signalling about environmentalism and that they actually prioritised the environmental credentials over health and safety and the efficacy of what they were actually doing. So being able to say, well, look, we've got this and this and this. Isn't this lovely? Yes, it would be if the hospital wasn't an absolute raging dump. Now, Anna Sarwar, leader of the Scottish Labour Party, of course, he said that the images that you're about to see as well are absolutely revolting and would be shameful anywhere. But to see them at what is supposed to be Scotland's flagship hospital is astonishing and damning. He says, and every revelation about the QEUH that comes out adds to a deeply disturbing picture. Well, yeah, and it does. And we've been saying this for years, literally for years. This is one of the first big stories that I broke on the channel maybe 2.5 years ago. At that point, the channel was new. It was semi-directionless. And it was this that kind of put me onto the direction of how bad things were in Scotland. And obviously, my wife's family being Scottish, and as many people know, I'm Northern Irish, but I've families who live from Scotland or live in Scotland and that. So and a lot of friends in Scotland, of course, as well. And it's one of those things that actually this story pushed this channel in the direction it went. And so it's something that's very, very concerning to me when I see things like this. I knew it was bad. But boy, I have never, ever seen this in a hospital before. This is disturbing. Now, here we go with the first picture. This is a support strut. And as you see, it is surrounded at depth with pigeon shit. This is a parapet that supports part of the hospital. And just look, does nobody clean this? Does nobody care? This is a breeding ground. And have I told you that that's the best picture you're going to see today? You're about to go on a journey. Now, there has been an inquiry. It was chaired by Lord Philip Brodie. And that was sort of probing into how patients, children with cancer, particularly contracted rare bugs, people have died. Children have died in this hospital with things linked to dirt like this. But let me tell you, that is the least of it. And we're going to have a look at this, which is here. And this is in the MRI building link corridor. This is in the roof space. So, you know, you have that gap between the tiles of the ceiling. Then there's a gap on the suspended ceiling to the actual floor above. That is that. There are so many pigeons and so much pigeon shit that they actually had to close that entire space. There was a massive blue bottle infection because of the laying of the eggs in all that shit. And then the weight of the shit caused part of the ceiling tiles to actually collapse down into the corridor. They had to close that entire corridor, bottlenecking the rest of the hospital. That corridor also acted, of course, as a part of the fire escape. This is how bad it is. All those live birds just sitting in there, shitting all day. That's bad. Wait till you see this. Still more closer up picture. Excuse me. That is just disgusting guano. Years of guano building up, building up, building up. There is cables, utilities that run through that. If anyone needs to do any kind of repair to these things, they've got to get through that. The health implications alone are awful. Now, I'm going to show you this, which is an invoice or a report, control report from maintenance staff for a job they had to do. So here it is here on the screen. And it's a pest control report for the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital labour ward. So the labour ward where there will be newborn babies. They had to go in and remove 5 dead birds from behind the sink and toilet panels. 5 dead birds in where there are newborn babies. This is where a 10-year-old boy and a 73-year-old woman, Gail Armstrong, her name, they contracted Cryptococcus, which is a fungus linked to pigeon drop-ins, and they both died. Prior to their deaths, pest control experts had visited the hospital 94 times just to deal with the pigeon problem. This is, like I say, you can see there, picking up dead birds, cleaning up the guano. 3 other patients also tested positive for Cryptococcus, and that was put onto their death certificates. They refused to release details. They were told for years, you must release this, release it. They kept using loopholes in the freedom of information. Oh, the information is not kept centrally, or oh, the cost would be prohibitive, and all this. They were doing anything other than telling the truth. They were absolutely scared for the truth to come out. Now, I said to you, and I promised you a picture of the water tank. What do you think, ladies and gentlemen, is in the water tank? A dead pigeon? Well, there have been many, but no. It's this. And yes, that's a sponge. Sponges are growing in the water tank. The water tank that people wash in, drink, that things are, washed up in. And it's so bad. And the water is so rich from all the nutrients of all the pigeon shit that sponges can grow in it, filtering out. I don't know where to go with this. That hospital needs to be closed. It needs to be taken back down to bare land and rebuilt from scratch. Only rebuilt this time by people who know what they're doing and without the constant interruption by local and national government. And with constant, daily, hourly inspections for cleanliness and for pest control and for hygiene control, for fungal infection control, you name it. How can you put ill people, sick people, some desperately sick, into a hospital where the water supply is so dirty that sponges can thrive in it, filtering out all the little particulates, all the bits of shit, all the bacteria and things that grow in that water when it's so dirty. I'll stop there and we'll just say this, ladies and gentlemen. It's a national shame. When I saw the sponges, my mind was blown. If you're ill and you live in or near Glasgow, is that the hospital you'd want to go to? Is that the hospital you'd want to put your children into? Your grandmother? I think not. This hospital is exclusively SNP. That hospital was built, designed, funded and interfered at every stage of construction by the SNP. And when they were told this is the wrong type of air conditioning, this is the wrong type of ducting, you know you've got a massive fungal infection problem. And the SNP did nothing. And it is them, it's not the contractors, it's not the management. It's because the SNP micromanage everything. And it was the SNP who installed the management team. This is all SNP. So all you SNP voters, look at this hospital and then think to yourself, yes, but the SNP are the bestest ever and I'm going to continue voting for them, even though they are now killing people. Thank you very much. Goodbye.